All right, everybody, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely. Always ready to jump into some interesting financial topics.
Well, today we're tackling something that I think a lot of folks can relate to, avoiding financial ruin.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, nobody wants to end up in financial hot water.
Exactly. And we've got a great article here that lays out some solid habits to help us stay afloat, so to speak.
A roadmap to financial stability it is. I like that.
Love that analogy. So, listeners, if you're into taking control of your money, maybe even making it work a little harder for you, stick around. You might want to grab a notepad for this one because we're about to unpack a ton of practical tips.
Absolutely. And we're not just going to skim the surface. We'll dive into the why behind these habits, the psychology that often trips us up.
Love that. The how and the why. All right, so kicking things off, this article really emphasizes the power of planning. It even throws out this great quote, "Aim for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars."
I love that quote. It's so true, especially with finances.
Right. But I think sometimes people hear financial planning and their eyes kind of glaze over. Like, okay, yeah, sounds good, but where do I even start?
Right. It can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Think of it this way. Having a plan gives you direction, right? It's like having a financial GPS guiding you toward your goals. And maybe even more important, it helps you track your progress.
Track your progress, that's key. Because even when you're taking small steps, it's encouraging to see how they're adding up.
Exactly. Even if you can only save a little bit each month, with a plan, you can see how that small amount is moving you closer to where you want to be.
Makes total sense. So, listeners, take a second. Think about it. What's one small financial goal you could set for yourself today? It could be as simple as patching your lunch a couple of times a week to save on eating out. Anything to get the ball rolling.
Absolutely. Even small changes can make a big difference over time.
Okay, moving on to another point the article highlights, and I think this one's really important. Don't get complacent.
Oh, complacency, that's a slippery slope.
It is. Even if you feel like you're in a good spot right now, you've got a steady job, maybe some savings tucked away.
It's easy to fall into that trap of thinking, oh, I'm good, I can loosen the reins a bit, but that's when those little spending leaks can really start to add up.
The sneaky spending leaks. It's true. And I think, too, sometimes it's not even about a lack of awareness. Sometimes it's straight up emotions driving our spending.
Oh, absolutely. The psychology of spending is fascinating. It's not always rational. We've all been there, right? That impulse purchase to cheer yourself up after a bad day, or feeling pressured to buy something because everyone else seems to have it.
Yes. Keeping up with the Joneses. Online edition. It's a real thing.
It is. So the article talks about thoughtful spending as a way to combat this, but what does that actually look like in practice?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because it's easy to say spend thoughtfully, but how do we actually do it?
Well, for me, it often comes down to creating a pause before I buy something, especially if it's a non-essential item. Yeah, like a built-in cooling off period. Say I'm about to buy something online. Instead of hitting purchase right away, I'll leave it in my cart for a day or two.
I like that. Give yourself a chance to really consider if you need it.
Exactly. And sometimes, that urge to buy just fades away.
Or you realize, hey, I could probably get this cheaper somewhere else. Do a little comparison shopping.
Right. Or maybe you realize you don't even need it at all.
Smart. All right, so we've talked about planning and thoughtful spending, but let's tackle another biggie debt.
Ah, yes, the D word.
The article makes a really clear distinction between what it calls good debt and bad debt, which I found helpful.
It's a crucial distinction because not all debt is created equal.
Right. So good debt, what does that even look like?
Well, think of it as an investment that will hopefully yield a return down the line, like taking out a loan to start a business.
That makes sense. If the business is successful, it'll generate income to pay off the loan and then some.
Exactly. Or investing in education or training that can boost your earning potential.
Right. So in those cases, the debt is helping you build a better financial future.
Precisely. Now, on the flip side, we have bad debt. This is the kind that can really drag you down.
The kind that keeps you up at night.
It can. And this is often debt that's used for things that quickly lose value. Think about racking up credit card debt for everyday expenses, clothes, gadgets, that kind of thing.
Yeah, things that don't really increase your net worth.
Right. Or using high-interest payday loans to cover short-term cash crunches.
So the key here is to be really aware of what kind of debt you have and have a plan to manage it.
Absolutely. Even if you're dealing with some bad debt, it's not a hopeless situation. There are strategies to get back on track, but it starts with understanding what you're dealing with.
So listeners, think about it. If you could only have one type of debt, which would you choose? Good debt or bad debt? And why?
It's an interesting thought experiment, right? To really get you thinking about the nature of your debt.
All right, let's move on to another point that the article really drives home, and this is one I'm a big fan of, even though it can be tough sometimes.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Know where your money goes. Track your income and expenses. The article calls it having a financial GPS.
I like that analogy. And it really is essential because you can't make informed decisions about your money if you don't know where it's going.
Right, it's like trying to navigate a new city without a map.
Exactly. But here's the thing. It's not just about tracking how much you spend. It's about categorizing those expenses.
So not just knowing that you spent, say, $500 eating out last month, but breaking down where that $500 went.
Right. Was it fancy dinners, quick lunches, takeout?
Because that level of detail gives you valuable information. Maybe you realize, whoa, I'm spending way more on takeout than I thought.
Exactly. And then you can make a conscious decision. Is that how I want to be spending my money? Could I be using that money differently?
All right, listeners, be honest. What's your biggest obstacle to tracking your finances? Is it time? Is it finding the right tools? Or maybe it's just facing those hard truths about your spending habits.
Because once you overcome that hurdle, you unlock a whole new level of control over your money.
And that brings us to our next point. The article spends some time talking about low-income, high tastes, and I think this one's particularly relevant these days.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with the rise of social media.
It's like keeping up with the Joneses has gone digital. We're constantly bombarded with images of everyone's seemingly perfect lives.
And it's so easy to fall into that comparison trap, thinking, oh, they have that, I need that too, even if it doesn't align with your actual financial situation or your values.
And that's where the article's advice to define your own version of happiness comes in.
Yes. Figure out what truly matters to you, what brings you joy and fulfillment. And don't let social media dictate your spending or your self-worth.
So listeners, has social media ever influenced your spending? How have you navigated that pressure to keep up appearances?
It's a real struggle for a lot of people.
All right, let's wrap up by diving into one final point from the article, and it's one that often gets overlooked: investing.
Investing, yes. Such an important part of building long-term financial security.
The article uses the cryptocurrency craze as an example of how trendy investments can be risky.
And it's a good reminder that any investment, whether it's trendy or not, comes with risk. It's crucial to do your research, understand what you're investing in.
Don't just jump on the bandwagon.
Exactly. And the article offers a really interesting perspective on investing. It talks about investing in yourself, and I think that's so powerful.
What does that look like?
It could be anything from taking a course to learn a new skill, to attending a conference to expand your knowledge, even investing in your health and well-being.
It's about putting resources into yourself to increase your earning potential, improve your quality of life, broaden your horizons.
Exactly. Think of it as investing in your most valuable asset, yourself.
So listeners, what's one skill or area of knowledge you could invest in today?
It doesn't have to be a huge commitment. It could be something small, a book, an online course, anything that will help you grow.
I love that. All right, so as we resurface from this deep dive into avoiding financial ruin, what are the key takeaways to remember?
For me, it boils down to this: true financial freedom isn't just about having a lot of money. It's about aligning your spending with your values, making conscious choices that empower you to live the life you want now and in the future.
So well said. It's not about deprivation, it's about empowerment.
Exactly. It's about having a plan, spending thoughtfully, understanding debt, knowing where your money goes, and investing wisely, both in traditional ways and by investing in yourself.
All right, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive and come away with some valuable nuggets of wisdom. Go forth and make those smart money moves.
And remember, building a secure financial future is a marathon, not a sprint. Take it one step at a time, and don't be afraid to ask for help along the way.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Happy saving.
Happy saving, everyone!